All right, just your boy back again. Another video. Uh, I'm not going to do a pregame synopsis on Milwaukee because um, so much is up in the air. We don't know if they're going to have Lonzo or not. And honestly, Lonzo is a huge part of how this game is going to tilt. Um, I will say this. I think they would probably lose with Lonzo because they just have a bigger front court. And again, big front courts are going to be the bane of the Pels' existence based on how they're built. But I think if they actually played with pace, I think they could actually have a real good weapon to deal with Milwaukee. And so, without his availability really being known, I don't want to speak on that game right now. I think Milwaukee would win, but I think it could be a tightly closer game if Zoe played. I think that's how much his defensive ability shifts this matchup. Um, anyway, I gotta tell y'all something, man. And I know I said, like, I think about a week ago, I said I was pretty much done with pale shit. And for the most part, I am. Like, I'm not as active talking with media pundits or other, like, I guess, Pels fans that aren't like the normal crew of people uh, because I just don't feel like it. Like, at this point, I'm just ignoring people for their stupidity. Um, Hell, I know everybody's talking about that guy in Seattle or whatever that beat that black chick's ass, and I literally got guys sitting here trying to justify, you know, that situation is different than Kareem Hunt and Ray Rice. Like they're trying to make it like, oh, those other two situations were way worse. And I'm like, no, this guy threatened to kill this woman and was surprised she was fucking alive, right? So this is the level of acumen and IQ on Twitter, and a lot of times I just don't feel like dealing with it, right? Way too many elitists who think they know every goddamn thing. And I'll be the first one to tell you guys when I say I don't know something. Hell, I've even said it, I don't know. Hell, even at the beginning of this video, I said I don't know. you know? So there's way too many people that are concerned with being right instead of being righteous. Um, Having said that, you know, um, let me say this, man. I like Lonzo Ball. Like I like Lonzo Ball. I think he's a really good player. I know this is like, well, Jay Strauss, you talk about Lonzo 9 times out of 10. Of course, I get it. But, I just don't think I don't think Lonzo will ever get appreciated in this league right now. Even if he had his own team and he was winning, I don't think he would get appreciated. There will always be a drawback. I think he is the stigma point for LeVar. LaMelo is a lot less because LaMelo seemed to have rebelled younger, and I think people like seeing that more, even though he gives props to his dad every chance he gets. But I think Lonzo is the LeVar spearhead. He is the front of the spear, and he will always get the most attention versus Jello and LaMelo. LaMelo, a lot more people seem alike. LaMelo seems to be a lot more uh, fun to watch. I would compare them to being Golden State is to LaMelo as the Spurs is to Lonzo. You know, classic Spurs, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Ginobili Spurs at that. Um, Obviously, modern day Warriors. KD version, Harrison Barnes somewhere in there. Um, but it's just funny to me, like the amount of disdain this guy gets, and even when he's hurt, he's getting, like vitriol, and I'm just like, bro, he ain't do shit. Like he was plus 23, and the way plus minus is calculated essentially is the difference in points while you're on the court is how that is calculated. So if you start off the game, let's say first quarter is 20 to 25, when you leave off the court, you're -5. Let's say the score is 50 to 50 when you come back in, and when you leave, it's 75 to 65. So now you're plus 5, right? So in the 15 minutes that he was on the court, they got 23 extra points, right? And he had the highest plus minus in the game. Like, because the game was what, 14 points difference when he went, like, when it was over with. So, like, even if everybody else had, like, constant, same level throughout the entire game, they still didn't touch Lonzo. Lonzo still had the highest plus minus out of everybody that game, and he only played 15 minutes. Now, granted, I'm going to say the same thing I said the other day. Lonzo shouldn't get extra credit for this game because it's the Wizards. The only part I'm giving him credit for, truthfully, is him knocking down his shots and the fact that he clamped up Bradley Beal. Because I don't care what you say, Bradley Beal is not a normal player. If he was on somebody else that entire game, Isaac Bonga, I'd be like, man, whatever, fuck Lonzo in that game. He ain't do shit worth mentioning, no way. But he guarded the best player, an all-star player, gonna be in the MVP voting. He won't get any votes though, because of his like scoring, unless he goes to some other team, he gets traded. Like, he guarded the best scorer in the game and shut him down. He deserves credit for that. Meanwhile, everybody else on the team could not stop him. Like, to me, this, like, I want you guys to think about this in perspective. The Wizards really should not have been in this game at all. There shouldn't have even been a scare. There was Bradley Beal and G Leaguers, basically, like down the bench players. And your defense could not contain them over the course of the third quarter going into the fourth. Think about this, guys. G League players and your starters minus Zoe cannot stop them from closing the gap, even if it was all on Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is not even top 10 best players in the league right now, in my opinion. He's not. He never will be. He's like a top 15 to 20 player at best in my eyes. Maybe top 11, 15. But he definitely is nowhere near top 10 in my eyes. There's a huge gap to me in the way I tier, because I tier differently. And even though he's like, his scoring is like top 5 level, the team couldn't stop him, right? And he's not even a big. He's a guard. You got Bledsoe. You got long ass Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart. None of these guys could stop him. And I'm throwing out your best defenders in key. No way Steven Adams is going to be able to keep up with Bradley Beal. He's way too fast, right? So there's no point in me mentioning him. There's no point in me mentioning JJ. We all know he can't defend. Brandon Ingram has length to bother him, right? He can't do anything about it. Bledsoe's supposed to be your next best on-ball defender. He couldn't stop him. And granted, I think Bledsoe is overrated. I think part of his defensive accolades is, one, being in Milwaukee, so the spotlight is on him. And then two, it makes it much easier when you have Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton backing you up on defense. Like, to me, that makes a whole lot different, a whole big thing of difference, right? That's why I say if you put Lonzo with someone like that on Milwaukee, he might not be defensive player of the year candidate, but he's gonna be like first team all defense consistently. And it's just a matter of who you have around you, the wins and all that other stuff. It's politics as usual. But no, none of these guys can stop Beal. And I just want this to be framed for you guys. Beal took 37 fucking shots. 37. He took 37 shots. Like, I think what a BI and Zion averaging like 16, 17 shots a game. They still didn't take the same number of shots per game that Beal took. He took two superstar, let me not say superstar because they're not superstar level, star level players. And I'm very picky about that term superstar. That gets thrown away way too much. Bradley Beal is not superstar. He's an elite star. but he's not a superstar. Superstars are your god tier. They will carry you to a championship. Your Steph Curry's, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James. Basically, they all have rings. KD, no, AD is not one of them because AD has not led a team to a ring, so he don't qualify. He's got that talent, but he's a superstar level player, but he is not a superstar. If LeBron is not on that team is not going where it's going. The bulk of that engine is LeBron. Um, but this guy Bradley Beal just literally showed that the Pelicans defense is not worth a damn. It's not worth a damn. And when you think about this, it's like, okay, frame this back to Stan Van Gundy real quick. How's Stan supposed to influence this defense if the defense can't play defense? Right? It's like you giving me a car and telling me to fly like a helicopter. What I have is not going to fly. So to Stan, and I know a lot of people have been harsh on Stan. I've been slow to criticize Stan, even though I have critiqued him on certain things. But let's be clear about something. It doesn't matter who the coach is of this team; they're not playing defense. If your two best players cannot play defense and do not play defense at the highest level, it's not going to carry on. Lonzo and Steven Adams do the bulk of the defense. You know, Josh Hart with those guys, his defense on. I don't like him on the first best wing, but I like him on like the second best wing, even though they put him on like the best wing for whatever reason. I've not understood that. Josh Hart should be guarding the second best wing, or guard. The bulk of the wing duty, guard duty should be going to Lonzo because he is their best defender. Um, unless it's someone like Siakam, in which you need length, so you need BI. Um, but again, I want you to think about this, guys. You had Steven Adams, Brandon Ingram, Zion, Bledsoe, or no, and they could not contain Bradley Beal. Is that a stand issue? Your players just can't play defense. And so I've also told you guys, I was like, Stan just don't have the pieces that he need to play the way he want to play. Um, and I'm gonna be honest and upfront, which as long as he have Bi and Zion, he's never going to have all of the pieces he needs. He needs his other pieces on the court with them have to be elite defensive players. Like Steven Adams is good, but you're gonna have two guards that are top cream of the crop. I'm sorry, Bledsoe is too small. He's not going to be what this team needs. You need someone else out there like Lonzo. Maybe not with all the other stuff that Lonzo does, but you need someone out there like a Marcus Smart, something like a player like that with a little bit more size. I think Smart is 6'4". You need someone like him out there next to Lonzo, and then with Steven Adams, and you'll see uh, a little bit more of what Stan's defensive principles are, because a lot of these guys really cannot defend. Bi can defend in moments, and he's going to be an above average defender the rest of his career. Um, he will never be all defensive like candidate, nowhere near it. Zion. I'm gonna say this: Zion's defense is okay, ish. The main thing is he's ball happy. He does not. His awareness is low. The number of guys that just get by Zion because he's watching the ball and not paying attention to anything else is ridiculous. Now he's still a young player; he has time to develop, so I don't want to crucify Zion for that. But Zion is letting way too many cutters get advantage on him. You know, um, it's the team just has defensive faults. It's why if Lonzo was on a team like the Clippers, they would be the best defensive team in the league, and it wouldn't even be close because there's not a switch on that team um, that's comfortable for you unless you get Zubac or uh, maybe Batum, and I'm not even sure you're going to get a complete advantage with those guys. So having said that, I think going forward, I'm not going to criticize the defense of Stan because those guys just can't play defense. I'm sorry. Those guys just suck on defense. I can't criticize Stan for making nachos, even though you ask for gumbos, but all you do is give them chips, dip, cheese, and the other stuff for nachos. I can't criticize him for that because he he could give them all the defensive principles in the world. If they don't take it upon themselves to play defense and take pride in it, it's never going to happen. Like, it's just not. So, they and here's the thing. They've been getting back on defense this year. They've set their defense up and they still can't stop anybody. Right? So, getting back on defense was not the issue, it's just the effort. Now, let's switch this back to another way, and I want you guys to think about this. And I'm guilty of this no different than anybody else. Alvin Gentry. We complained about Alvin Gentry on the court and the lack of defense, right? That offense was humming. Thinking to what, and we had Drew Holiday last year. No doubt he was a great defensive player. We had Derek Favors, he was solid. We still had Bi. We still had Josh Hart. Like blah blah blah. Here's the thing: if Stan can't get this roster to play defense the way they need to, and he's a defensive coach, Gentry should not have been crushed for his defense last year. And I get it. We all wanted these guys to be better, and we always thought they could be better. We were looking so far at the horizon when it came to this team instead of what they are in the moment. I'm guilty of this too. I'm not saying anybody is more guilty of it than me because I had issues with Gentry last year. And some of that stuff I had issues with Gentry was right. Um, I'm not going to sit there and act like I was wrong on everything because I wasn't. But there's some things like that defense I think he should have got a pass on. Looking at it right now, he should have got a pass on the defense because these guys just don't play defense with the exception of last year, Lonzo Drew and Favors. You know. So, which now brings a question because I know a lot of the issue this year was, you know, the defense stuff, and it was really an issue last year. Even though defense looks marketably better, understand I got to give Stan credit. Defense looks better this year than it did under Gentry, so there's no doubt he had an effect. But would you rather have kept the offense of Gentry with the woeful defense of last year, or would you rather have this year's team with the better defense and the woes on offense? Um, that's my question. That's what I'll pose to you guys, and I'll let you answer that. Um, but this team is just nowhere near competitive fervor. They lack it. This team lacks heart. Um, this team lacks the will to be great. And I'm gonna say this again, and I'm ahead of the curve saying this before this happens. I think they should break up this team. Yes, the entirety of it, not just Lonzo, but I mean beyond Zion. I think if you're gonna do this, um, if you're gonna do this, and let me take my bias out because what I want to tell them is to keep Lonzo and Zion and move everybody else. If you're going to do this, I think you pick one and trade the other two. Obviously, that means they're not going to keep Zoe. That's fine. They didn't want to keep Zoe anyway. But and I think you would get more on the market for Bi than you would get for Zion. So if I were them, I would keep Zion. Excuse me, and I would trade Bi for either a top pick, like Kate Cunningham, or I would trade him to get another All Star level player. Not Ben Simmons is an All Star level player, but he wouldn't fit on that team the way they need to. Although he would play the kind of defense Stan would like. But you couldn't run Ben Simmons and Zion together. So they would need to go out and get the kind of players that would fit around Zion's skill set. And they're out there. Trust me, they're out there. But that's what I would do. And you're going to get a haul for Bi. Bi is an all-star level ascending talent. You can command pretty much whatever you want on the market for him. If you think he's worth a good player plus picks, you could get that. If you think he's worth, you probably couldn't get Giannis for him just straight up, but you could get Bi, and you could get rid of Bi and something else, a couple picks, and probably get Giannis. It'll cost you a whole lot less to get Giannis if you were to give them Bi. You know what I'm saying? Um, you could probably go trade Bi, get say Miles Turner and Malcolm Brogdon, or some combination or something like that. Maybe even Sabonis. I don't know, but that's what I would do. I would break this team up and get the haul that I think I deserve. You know, they talk about they want a haul for Lonzo. You're not getting a haul for Lonzo unless you up his value and you play the ball the way that they need to play and make him look even better, which means your media have to stop slandering him at every chance. Is that gonna happen? No. So that's where I think they're at. But they're not gonna be there. Pelicans truly believe in the Bi Zion. And hey, let me be honest, it's they're young. It could still work. I'm not saying it couldn't work. But defensively, I doubt they'll ever carry the torch like they need to. And for me, I don't like I've said before, I don't believe in two-way players. I believe you either play basketball or you don't. You either play on both sides of the ball or you don't. Right? JJ Redick he may be a specialist, but really he shouldn't be on a court. He should have never been on an NBA court this long, if I'm being honest. If you don't play both sides of the ball, you shouldn't. We're going to talk about Lonzo. Lonzo plays both sides of the ball. His scoring isn't quite up to par, even though we've seen the percentages he's improved markedly across the board, even though he seems to be coming out of his slump. But, he plays both sides of the ball instinctually. Guys like Bi who have these premiums on offense, I get it. He's got premiums on offense all over the place, so he's an amalgamation. He's a special case. Zion Williamson, same thing. You know, but these guys who only do one thing, like it's just shoot. I just shoot. That's it. And you don't play anything else at an NBA level. Those guys shouldn't be at the league. They shouldn't be in the league. I'm sorry. Not long term. Not like this. This is just my opinion. People are like, well, JJ is one of the greatest shooters. I get that, but what's the point of having all this shooting if he's not going to guard anybody, right? It's not like football where you could go sit there and have your offensive people and your defensive people and they just do that one thing. It's different. The guys that you put on the court are responsible for everything essentially. You know, like even in the second unit for the Pels, you got JJ Redick playing point guard at times, or not necessarily playing point guard. Let me not say it that way. He's handling ball handling responsibilities because all you got is Null, and you got Josh Hart who has no handles. You got Zion Williamson whose handles are eh. You got Jackson Hayes who has no handles, and then all you got is Nikhil Alexander Walker, right? But in the starting lineup, you got Lonzo and Bi and Bledsoe as ball handlers. You got 3 versus 1 on the goddamn fucking second unit. You know, it's to me the team, like, and I've told you guys my beef. The team is built poorly all the way around. That's why I would strip this entire team down and just start the fuck over, right? That's me. But even with that being said, like, I'm you know I don't want to beat Pels fans up, especially people who are truly fans of this team, because the future is still bright for this team. It's just for me, in the way I think basketball, my philosophy, my principles on basketball, I find it difficult to gravitate behind this team. Like I said, I'm a Mavs fan. We won a championship, like 10 years ago, right? Our first one. And I remember that team. I remember that team vividly. They played offense, they played defense, even though Dirk was bad on defense, but they rarely had too many people out there that didn't play defense at a good level, high level, and there was balance in the rotation. Rick Carlisle did a phenomenal job. Mark Cuban did a phenomenal job. That front office did a phenomenal job building that roster, and they built it around, believe it or not, Jason Terry and Dirk. And Jason Terry was not this all-star level player, but he fit. The fit, and I tell people this: the reason that Dallas beat Miami, and I told people I was still in the army. I was at Fort Hood when this happened. I remember talking to my homeboy, and he was on Miami's nuts, and I was like, Dallas is going to win that series 4-2, and I knew they were going to win that series because they played team ball and everything worked like an engine. Miami played three ball and it centered around those big three and they didn't really have much else, which makes sense. They had to build that roster out. But, you know, talent isn't going to beat hard work and experience all the time. You know, because even if the talent level total ain't as high, they still play at the highest level. Miami's 3 stars can play at the highest level, but the rest of the team can't, which brings the value down. So when it comes to teams, it's why the Lakers should be the favorite to win a title this year, despite KD, Harden, and Kyrie. Now, I'll give them this much: Harden and KD have played together before in the past, so it may not be as hard to integrate with them. Kyrie is the wild card here, uh, but back to the point. Even for Dirk's bad defense, Dirk still played defense. He had length. He still tried to guard people, and everybody else played defense for him. Tyson Chandler was the rim protector, and then even outside of that, they made sure. Look, even if we have games where our defense is average, our offense is going to hit. We got shooters. We got a point guard that can get everybody the ball. We got an all-time great scorer who knows his role, and the team respects and follows and plays under him. Everybody knows their role in their position. Dirk groomed and trained all of them guys and brought them all under his wing. Which is why Dirk's run was one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion. Not just as a Mavs fan, but just as a basketball fan. What he did was phenomenal because he swept prime Kobe and the Lakers. Y'all don't understand how difficult that was just to win a game. He swept them boys, right? Like, I can barely contain my laughter of how he did that. Rest in peace to Kobe. But that team was built under the premise that Dirk is our guy. Every piece here doesn't have to be all-time talent great. What they do collectively needs to enhance our guy, and they all need to play around him. He is the center of the universe to this on-court galaxy. But on the Pels, don't have that. Even with the Lakers, their core is LeBron, AD. Everything is centered around them. And the pieces support. It's just so happened the pieces they have support both. And LeBron has the flexibility in his toolkit. Another thing, superstar players shouldn't just be good at one thing. They should be great at multiple things. But LeBron's toolkit is so vast. He can play various different parts of the court, and he can make other superstars work with him. That's why he's truly one of the greatest of all time. Um, and this is from a LeBron James hater. But, your best players should be able to do multiple functions on the court. If they can't, they're going to be limited, you know. Um, and so, with the Pelicans, with all the stuff I just said, what is their future? What are they going to look like? Um, I'll leave that to you guys to answer. Like I said, this was just a ramble. I got to get ready to go to work here. But, yeah, man. Like I said, I feel for the Pelicans because they're in a fucked up position and they have to make some decisions down the road. There's, again, that trade enhancer for BI is there for a reason. It is there for a reason. And that thing has stuck with me since I found out it was in his contract. Something is going to happen with the Pelicans within the next couple years around BI. Um, we'll see what happens. We'll see what Zion grows to become. Uh, I'm not sure if Zion is going to be Luka Doncic level, but he'll probably be somewhere on that James Harden level where he'll be, very good scoring the ball, maybe rebounding it, but he probably won't do the other stuff on the court that you want him to do. Like I said, Bi is going to be one of those all-time scorers, efficient scorers. He reminds me a lot more of Tracy McGrady than anything as far as his smoothness scoring the ball. But I'm not sure. Lonzo has a lot more improvement to do on offense, but he's going to be all-time great in terms of skill set. His skill set is just unique. He's built to play similarly to LeBron. He just don't have the physique and the scoring yet. I think that'll come later in his career, but we'll see. Anyway, y'all have a good one. It's your boy. Peace.